Welcome to What the Flick, Game of Thrones. We're ready. Episode 1, Season 5. A very long wait, fellas.
17 years.
Here's
The
what I have
Wars to Come, this episode called. First of all, let's start with it. I didn't even tell you guys we're going to do this, but this is what we're going to do. You have 6 seconds or less to your initial immediate thoughts on the episode.
Just as good as I'd hoped it would be.
Really? Yeah. Wow, you left 3 seconds for John.
I've missed Daenerys so much.
I miss the bad guys so much. I wanted more drama and more bad guys, but it had a Varys speech, so you can't go wrong.
How bad did that box smell?
Very
That's what he
bad.
said.
Oh!
Anyway.
John. Okay, I think obviously, when you have this much anticipation, you set the bar so high, you almost can only disappoint. Like
I don't think it did.
No, that's what I'm saying. You can either meet that expectation, you can't really exceed it. It's almost impossible
Right.
to. And I thought it did a really nice job. And even when it appeared to open with 2 young girls who we'd never seen before, we all watched it together. And Matt got it quicker than anybody. Yeah, he was really quick with that's a young
I'm
Cersei.
smart.
Yeah.
So I had the worst guess. I thought it was Craster's place before it got really cold in the winter.
Yeah,
I
totally.
thought-
My first thought was, come on, when is winter getting here? For the love of God, they're in summer dresses.
Those were great prophecies, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I mean, those were great prophecies that the young Cersei gets, which is, will I marry the prince? No.
No.
But you'll marry a king.
Yeah, right.
Will we have lots of children?
Yeah.
He'll have lots of children.
The king will have 20 children. You will have 3. That's impossible.
Oh, young
no, it
Cersei.
Yeah.
She's far more cynical now.
Yeah.
I forgot that her kids are not the king's kids. Oh, you knucklehead! That was the whole point of it.
Right, that's the whole point. And so, and by the way,
She had one other one with Robert that died. But
we didn't talk about this in the preview that we did, but of course that's still an issue. Somebody proves that, and then obviously that's
Right.
the end of they're out.
Yeah, but at this point, I mean, so many people are getting murdered left and right. It doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the throne is theoretically yours. Who cares, dude?
No, I got you, but I mean, but that might be enough to turn supporters against them.
Yeah.
I got you,
Yeah.
but at
Maybe
this
the
point,
Tyrells.
I really think the legitimate heir to the throne is pretty much
Kind of irrelevant.
irrelevant.
I agree.
Like, we're in such chaos, such pandemonium, so many kings, so many wars to come.
Yeah.
That I think,
The
Well,
smooth folk don't care.
I don't disagree with you for us as viewers and for most of the world, but it sure as hell still matters in King's Landing. Because all of the people and all of that hierarchy, all of the people in power there are still invested in
The King's Guard, all
the
those
fake
guys.
Baratheon children, and Tommen being the next heir to the throne. And Cersei's going to make sure everybody remembers that, as will Marjorie. Marjorie wants that, the Tyrells want that narrative to also play out, because now you've got 2 major houses invested in maintaining that fiction.
Yeah, that's their route to power.
Right.
And right now, if someone was going to overthrow them, it seems like it would almost have to be the Tyrells. And they don't necessarily want to do that.
So we learn that Cersei is having this flashback in her head, this memory in her head. I'm curious who that other girl was, if that's anyone that matters, or if it was just.
it's inconceivable that is not loaded with meaning.
Yeah,
like
right.
it's not there's no way that's a throwaway girl that never becomes relevant again.
Right.
So whether it's in the show or it's in the books,
It was somebody.
I'm
It
sure
wasn't
that
just-
it was somebody.
It wasn't just someone
Yeah.
to show who Cersei is. But she's having this flashback, this thought as she's riding to her father's funeral.
Yeah.
Like, you forget that that's her dad and Jaime's dad, you know? And she did lose her son.
He killed him. He told me he would.
And if you were going to feel sympathy for her, which you don't, this would be the time.
Yeah, and she specifically passes Marjorie Tyrell. They have that little look.
Marjorie tries to be nice, but Cersei, what you like about Cersei, she gives nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gives you nothing.
She doesn't.
gives no
She
quarter.
gives you nothing, but she does tell the High Septon that she wants her own time with her father.
Yeah, but that guy was out of line. He was like, these people have come a long way. Yeah,
Okay, do you?
you know who you're
Hi,
talking
nice to meet you. My name is Cersei.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
Again, though, she's like, I think we're still thinking of her as, oh, she's Cersei. She's been in control for so long, but And they sort of get into this. She's the Queen Mother now.
No,
she
totally.
doesn't have any actual authority, really.
Totally, but she's still to be feared and reckoned with. And in the day or two that this is after her father's death, I wouldn't.
Yeah, although one of the fun things that we see in this episode, and we saw some hints of this in the last season, Cersei's not nearly as sharp as she thinks she is.
Yeah.
Right? Tyrion would constantly outwit her, but she still thinks that she's got it together, and that's going to be interesting to watch that play out.
And she's been fully unable to. She has this unbelievable ability to control Jaime, right? But she never was able to control Jaime in the way that she needed to. He literally sided with Tyrion, and now their father's dead.
Yeah. Let me make a point about what Matt said and Ben said. So, yes, Cersei's not as clever, is not as artful in her machinations as Tyrion and some of the others are.
Is that your word of the day?
I think so. I've gone to it a couple times. So, but to her point, and I think season 1, sometimes just power is power, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's money, sometimes it's this, and sometimes I'll cut your goddamn head off. And she does that, I think, more effectively than anyone else at a moment that is important. Like at that moment when it was going to be Ned Stark in charge or it was going to be the Lannisters in charge, power is power. I'll cut your goddamn head off, right?
Yeah.
And she does that well. So I think you have to give her that. And Ben, no, I felt 0% sympathy for her, not one scintilla. But she did have one of the best lines when that made me go, ooh, when she said to Jaime, he loved you more than anyone else on earth, right? And so Jaime didn't feel that bad that his dad died. That's what was my sense of it.
Seem like
Like, hey, God, I wish it hadn't gone that way, but I'd rather have Tyrion be alive than Tywin be alive, because Tyrion is a good guy and I know Tywin's a bad guy. I know it, right? Yeah. So that's the sense you get from him. And when she says that, that hurts him like, oh, you're right. I led to his death and he loved me more than anyone else. And that's I was like, that was a nice blow.
It is. I didn't get that he was that moved by it. I was curious whether they would, they're there. The last time we saw them standing with the dead body, I think he sexually assaulted.
Stop it!
Well, that's a matter of some great controversy online. Yes.
That seemed pretty clear.
So in the show, yes.
In the show.
So no, but there was a real question: are they going to have sex?
So there was a legitimate question.
I mean,
like,
what a crazy
we were watching
show
that.
Yeah, right.
that we
And
all
I was
love.
like, are they going to have coffin sex again?
Yeah. But there's a real question about a show that America loves as to whether a brother and sister will have sex on a coffin again.
Right.
a
What's wrong with
a
us?
family member's coffin.
Right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us all?
Yeah, right. And
They've got their time.
And not just sex on a family member's coffin. Incestual brother-sister sex
Yeah.
on a family member's coffin.
Under the eyes of all 7 of the gods.
Right. In a church.
Yeah.
the old gods and the new.
Exactly.
So that was our first. That was sort of how things opened, without the no coffin sex. And then we get. Then we
cut to the dink in a box.
That's then we cut to Tyrion and this sort of hideous existence that he went through, and we have no idea how long.
Probably a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah,
something like that.
Oh yeah, that's like a 3 or 4 week trip.
Yeah.
But I like that that because that's the first thing I thought, like, how bad is this box? Like, what is nasty horribleness is in this box? But they dealt with it. Like, it was
No,
really.
that's the funny thing. For whatever reason, apparently I was zoned out in this thing. I didn't think that, the box, well, what's he gonna, I just thought, that's an uncomfortable ride.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when he said about having to take out his own waste out of the hose, I was like, oh no, that must have been terrible.
Better
And
than
Varys
leaving it
is
in
like,
there.
well, and I had to pick it up.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's a
But
fair
so I
point.
I like that there's just a little bit of writing there. Like we're gonna
address it.
address
Everybody's
this
wondering.
situation.
Yeah,
Everybody's wondering. Yeah.
The whole Tyrion Varys thing on Across the Narrow Sea is kind of turning into this weird buddy comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one's Abbott, which
Trout,
one's
yeah.
Costello?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's the interesting symmetry. The last time we saw him opening up a box, there was someone else in it, and it wasn't as nice of a trip that person took.
Oh, Varys. Varys likes to put people in a box.
He does.
He's good at it. He's
Yeah.
a skill. So
And I wonder if that was on
Although,
Tyrion's mind, because
interestingly,
Tyrion is the one who had the conversation with him right as he's opening up the
So
box.
these guys with Daenerys, apparently, they represent power. Not don't have as much power as Daenerys, obviously. Well, depends. But they have there's a kindness to them. They're the only
Compassion.
smart, compassionate people.
So-
but they're smart.
Maybe Jon Snow.
Yeah, right. Maybe Jon Snow, but Jon has not exhibited any. He's no interest in power. He has no power. He's just he keeps wanting not to have power.
Yeah.
You know, like he just wants to be I'm a soldier and I'm in the Night's Watch and I took an oath and blah, 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 blah.
You know, I'm not sure compassion is necessarily the term. I would almost say what you see, especially from Varys, is like the best case scenario of patriotism. And he really is trying to do what he thinks is going to be the best for the Seven Kingdoms.
I did it for the Seven Kingdoms.
Drunken dwarf will never be the savior of the Seven Kingdoms.
I don't believe in saviors. I believe men of talent have a part to play in the war to come.
Tyrion, to a lesser extent.
I think it's a recognition that maybe they're not genuinely compassionate, but I think they are. But it's a recognition that what's best for the Seven Kingdoms, he says it, in fact, involves someone who has compassion.
Yeah.
Like that's a component that we have lacked and that we need.
Well, and what I like about, I mean, we haven't seen a Littlefinger Varys scene in quite a while, but Littlefinger's theory was, if I can cause as much chaos as possible, that's how I will climb. That's the environment that I thrive in.
That's the ladder speech.
Exactly. Whereas Varys is the exact opposite. He says, I acknowledge it's stability that we need, both for the rich and for the poor. We'll all be better off. And by the way, he's not wrong. Prior to the death of Robert Baratheon, they had 17 to 19 years of peace and plenty. Like, everyone was doing very well. Now the world's gone to shit. I think his philosophy does win out over Littlefinger's.
So it's funny because I don't really like Littlefinger. I love Varys, but I think Littlefinger's theory is more correct. Like, I'm in favor of chaos. I'm in favor of, because to me, chaos equals freedom in America.
You know, like when the internet goes out in the whole building.
But you know, it's also interesting if you look at Littlefinger and Varys. Littlefinger is the guy who is still carrying a torch for the woman that shunned him, and now he's focused on that woman's daughter.
Avenge them.
He wants to have a greater house and have a legacy, all of which is denied to Varys. And it's almost like two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
What can a smart man do if he doesn't have a legacy to worry about? And doesn't have to worry about leaving children and power and leaving something for a family.
Similar to Jon Snow.
Somewhat similar to Jon Snow.
Has Littlefinger done anything? I guess he betrayed Ned Stark. Like, has he done anything truly terrible?
Yes.
Yeah.
He pushed that woman out the moon door.
Crazy, dangerous. She
Yeah.
needed to go.
He had Sir Dantos killed.
Go.
Remember Dantos got
She totally
Sansa out?
needed to go. No one
She was
went
pretty
like.
good.
No one went like. They went like.
Oh, that's gonna suck.
He went there to marry her and kill her.
Yeah.
Got no problem with
He,
that.
he
That's not
betrayed
truly evil.
Dantos.
That is truly evil.
She's nuts and a danger to.
No, he got the hand of the king killed.
He
Her husband.
He got Ned killed, right?
No, he got
Oh,
Ned
he
killed,
effectively had
and
Ned
he got
John Aaron
John Aaron killed.
He got
right?
John
He
Aaron
started
killed.
the whole thing.
No,
Right.
he's pure evil.
Right,
I mean,
he
he's a
plotted
different
that.
level of evil.
But he plotted that with Lisa Aaron. Like
Right,
that
right,
whole
yeah.
murder
Yeah.
is because of him. And he had to have known about Baratheon's children. Like he
Right.
had to know that.
I think he
those
sort of
kid-
implied, yeah.
Yeah.
There's the
Right.
traditional continuum. He is chaotic evil. You've got Tywin who's lawful evil, basically. It's just a different philosophy, but he's definitely
Varys
evil.
lawful
And he's
neutral.
far more evil than, he's far more evil than Tywin. He's perhaps one of the most evil people other than maybe Joffrey.
I don't think he's far more evil than Tywin. I definitely don't because first of all, he's complicated and he has moments of what appear to be some genuine concern for the people who he thinks can help him. Like
Littlefinger?
Sansa. Yeah. Tywin is a
no, I don't
Tywin is a marauding monster that we sort of like because he was a smart
do you remember
marauding.
the speech that Littlefinger had
Tywin
with
is the champion
hooker?
of evil.
No, first of all, we all
no,
agree
no,
Joffrey is the champion of evil.
Joffrey's
No,
the
no.
champion.
Tywin is trying to solidify his family's legacy. And he'll burn every bridge and he'll cut anyone out of his way to do that.
That's all
But he wants the
Littlefinger's
Lannisters.
doing.
No. Littlefinger is trying to get himself there. He doesn't even have kids. Like
He doesn't seem to care about him.
He wants the daughter of the woman he could never have. He wants the daughter that he shouldn't have. Like this is
He
all.
has a more interesting psychology, but there's no way that I will not buy that Littlefinger is more. He may be more subtly Machiavellian than Tywin, but I will not stand here and allow you guys to praise Tywin Lannister's character.
How dare you, sir?
Too soon. He
Have
just
you no
died.
dignity?
I mean, there's a poll in here somewhere. I mean, somebody do a poll. Who's more evil, Tywin Lannister? Or,
Right, answer us in the comments. Who's
Yeah.
worse?
Yeah, put it in the comments. So now things need to be said about Verse, but in the midst of this, again, Matt makes a point that makes me realize
How smart I am.
how smart you are, but also how smart George R.R. Martin is, because it's amazing that the way that he tells the story. Because of course, Varys and Littlefinger are two sides of a different coin. They have a certain parallel track. That everybody knows that, but also there's a sameness and a parallel track to Varys and Jon Snow for the same reason that you were explaining. They're both dispossessed, don't have to worry about family, possessions, etc. And then Jon Snow and Daenerys have a certain parallel track, and he manages that whole maze with incredible acumen. I've never seen it. It reminds me of Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children. It's the only thing that compares in terms of how intricate it is and how you weave the different characters in, etc. Yeah, okay, I made an intellectual point. So hashtag suck it.
You've read like one novel in 17 years.
That's right. But I weaved that in there. Well, that's my version of George R.R. Martin. So now the other thing about Varys is that we finally have the mystery solved. For me, this was one of the principal mysteries in the whole thing, which was, why was he talking to Jormon the Mormon? You remember in the season
Sir
1?
Jorah Mormont.
Yeah, that guy. Okay.
Sending letters.
And sending letters, and what? So, but is he a good guy or a bad guy? Was he looking to overthrow Baratheon because he's scheming to get power, etc.? And we now find out, no, he was worried that Robert Baratheon was going to destroy the kingdom because he was a fool and didn't want to rule and was a mess. So his plan all along had been to bring Daenerys in, right? And that's why
he was warning Robert about Daenerys, wasn't he?
I think that
it might have been
that's what
plan.
we couldn't figure out. And remember, they go to some.
Initially, Robert was like, it's a million miles away.
Right. But that's the thing about Varys. He's so smart that you can't tell which way he's coming.
We didn't know.
And so as the audience, we didn't know either until this moment. Now we know. It turns out he was on the side of Daenerys all along, and he wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't doing it for his own power or anything evil. He was doing it in his vision to save the kingdom.
Well, and the estate that they end up at the beginning of the show is Illyrio Mopatis' estate, who had set Daenerys and Viserys up with Khal Drogo.
And by the way, the scene in the castle...
He was tied into the guy across the Narrow Sea who was taking care of them to begin with.
And they're not just throwing this in.
He had that trump card in his back pocket for years.
In the first season, Arya is in the castle and has to hide when people walk by, so she hides in the shadows. Varys is walking by talking to Illyrio Mopatis in the first season. So they set this up a long time ago, actually.
Okay, but now we know he's a good guy, has meant good all along.
Varys.
Or
Varys.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, well, you never know anything in Game of Thrones, but as far as we can know it. I love Varys. If they kill Varys, I'm going to lose my mind. So, but
Tyrion crushes his head.
Yeah, well, no, the thing is, I believe that Varys is one of those characters. He might have, in fact, I would put him at power ranking number 1 for most likely to survive all the way to the end.
Immunity.
Okay, so, because he's smart, he doesn't need to be killed, he's not vying for the throne, etc.
There's almost nothing that you could blackmail him into weakness with. Like, you can't get him with sex. He's not that interested in money. You can't give him a castle. He's not going to look the other way.
But he should be the king.
And he lacks an Achilles heel because he does not lust for anything, whether it's women or power, right?
But he also doesn't have, there's effectively no one protecting him. Like, nobody is turning against him because either they think that he has info on them or something, but he has nothing to protect him. If one person decides to stab him in the stomach, they could.
Right, but he also recognized that, okay, now I've crossed the Rubicon and, like, now people will gut me in the stomach. Like, gotta go. Like, he knew just, like, he's going to put Tyrion on, and then he's like, yeah, no, I gotta go too. Like, that's it. And he walked away with nothing. Like, he left without,
except for his connections and knowledge.
He's what Robert De Niro should have been in Heat, able to walk away in 30 seconds.
Yeah, but he has no Amy. Varys has no Amy Brenneman.
But Littlefinger does. So Littlefinger is more vulnerable.
Is it Sansa?
Yeah, Sansa. Yeah.
Okay, so we also what do we get here? We got but just the Tyrion drunk, throwing up, and then drinking the wine was a great.
Boot and rally.
Great. So I'm curious because all 4 of us thought the exact same thing, which was that because we had already seen a character in Daenerys' inner circle replaced, right, where Eric Bana lookalike moved in and became her boyfriend. What's that guy's name?
Oh, impossible to know. The Valor Morgellus guy,
right.
No, it's not.
But that
I know
guy,
it's not him, but is any one of those?
You keep going
guys?
and I'll in the back.
So that guy came in and replaced the character last season, right? Or even I guess last season. Right. So in the beginning, we see this guy who looks like Grey Worm, but clearly isn't Grey Worm, and we're like, we all thought, shit, did they recast Grey Worm? They can't.
Oh, I was
It
positive.
totally
we were,
looked like
we were
it, yeah.
all positive they had
Unsullied look alike.
right. Yeah, we
He
thought
had been working out in the off season.
Is that mildly racialist of you guys? To
No,
say
I think
that
it's-
all the Unsullied look alike?
no, but in
All
fact,
those
we're,
eunuchs look alike.
no, but we're actually it's quite
Was
the
it
opposite.
Varys?
We're acknowledging that they didn't look alike. We recognized it. We're like,
Right.
oh, they recast. We like Grey Worm. Don't recast it with this guy who kind of looks like Grey Worm, right? But it wasn't. It was a totally other guy. It didn't matter. We didn't have to get to know him because he got his throat slashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was
stop
White
recasting
Rat.
people. It's,
Right, but they haven't, so we don't. Right, but I was we were all like, no, bring Grey Worm back. But Grey Worm is fine.
Dario Naharis.
Dario Naharis, right? He is.
Thanks to
he
Google.
looks like Eric Bana. So anyway, so we see this guy with his throat slashed, and we learned who the Sons of the Harpy are.
Popular
And he
insurrection.
goes, and it's this weird moment, right, where he goes to.
It's very sweet. It looked like it was going to be a
Right.
sweet scene.
You know, he's a free man. He goes walking through the red light district, so to speak, and hooks, finds one of the whores that he then pays money, and she starts to undress, and he says, "Oh, you don't need to do all that."
Remember that he wants the
you're kind
usual.
of,
He's
right,
been there
he wants
before.
the usual, and you're kind of thinking, okay, what's the usual? And the usual is just cuddling.
Right, tenderness. Yeah, sing
but if I was Unsullied, I'd pay for cuddling.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because I mean, it's still a human.
It's still
Scalp
something.
massage.
Oh, you kidding me? Back massage, scalp massage.
Yeah, there was a moment.
usual.
There was a moment where it's like, does he get off with the boobs on his bald head? Like that's
No, it was just tender. And
They
then,
were all
you
ripped
need
away
that.
from their mothers. Like
That's
they
right.
want that maternal figure, and they
Totally.
sort of have it to some extent in Daenerys.
well, anyway, it was an incredibly sweet scene until it was hideously violent.
That sounds like
and
Game
the,
of
and the
Thrones.
mask did that mask remind you of anything with the standing over him? The mask.
It's like Mardi Gras.
Was it for me? Well, you're there. We're in the same. It was a True Detective moment. Like that.
the Yellow King.
That seemed
The
like,
Yellow King
that
showed up
seemed
and
like
killed
the
him.
Yellow King showing up.
Yeah.
In
Well,
Game
did
of
you
Thrones.
hear that he whispered right before he killed him? Carcosa. Carcosa.
And all those Unsullied believe that time is a flat circle. So
So then the next thing we see after that, after the mysterious death of that Unsullied, was we finally go to the wall and we see Jon Snow training the kid who killed Ygritte, thinking he was doing a good thing when it turned out to be a bad thing. But Jon does not harbor that kind of resentment, especially
he's buddy
toward
buddy
innocent-
with him.
He's buddy buddy. He's training him, telling him to get his shield up. But that's our first look at the wall.
Yeah. Like the past, I guess, week or two, I've been so excited waiting for this premiere that I've been sort of seeing Game of Thrones basically everywhere I look. I started watching the show Attack on Titan, and you guys don't watch it, I know, but basically it's about there's this wall that separates the humanity from the wilderness, and it's been safe for so long. No one's been able to breach it. Now there's this actual genuine threat, and they have to train people who aren't serious about defending it. And it just seems so much like what's going on at the wall.
So did Attack on Titans did rip off Game of Thrones, or Game of Thrones rip off Attack on Titans?
They probably both ripped off the same person. But yeah.
Hadrian, the Emperor Hadrian.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
his wall. That's who they're ripping off.
But I've been watching that on our sponsor, Crunchyroll.
Oh, well, you look at that. You know what? Crunchyroll.com/TYT gets you a whole month free. So God bless that. What they got, the HD, they got all this fun
Every
stuff.
episode is available in HD with subtitles in English, so you don't have to speak Japanese. It's all available, like I said, HD on all your devices.
I'm such a tech idiot that whenever there's HD talk, every time I'm like, the HD thing, what is that? What, they have that, don't they? All I know is I
It
get
has
something
every
for free.
HD you could want.
Okay, so 30 days free trial,
That's right.
crunchyroll.com/TYT. Okay.
So the thing we see then at the wall is we get the Mad Men scene, which was Melisandre and Jon Snow in the elevator.
That's so funny.
And then the awkward
she's a
sex
redhead.
talk.
The awkward sex talk. She's like, "You a virgin?" No. Good.
And she's a redhead, like in Mad Men.
That's right, like a Joni.
And also like
Right.
Ygritte, by the way.
Right. That's right.
He's got a thing for him.
Yeah. And she has no soul because she's a ginger.
But she does
I
have
didn't
the
know that
warmth
about
of the
redheads.
Lord inside of her. He knows that now.
She is freakish. We talked about in the preview. The Stannis' reliance on her is so massively undercuts what Stannis is that even though I agree everything we saw in this episode, except for the burning someone alive, was the mark of a good leader. He had a good plan. Even Mance Rayder said that it was, I'll give him this. It's bold.
respects him.
Bold, trying to get Mance to come around and bend the knee and let the wildlings come and join Stannis' army. And then he'll set them free and give them land. And we presume also, because it's Stannis, we're like, no, he'll do that.
Yeah.
Like he'll do it. He'll come through on that deal. And Davos said it's more than fair. But of course, Jon cannot convince him to do that. And even Jon was like, I think he's not gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, so that's the interesting thing about Stannis. He's this character where I think he, as Matt said in the preview episode that we did here, he comes in and saves everybody when almost no one would. He makes fair offers, and then he burns people alive.
Yeah.
And it's so.
The carrot and the stick.
That's right. And
It's Don Corleone.
It's a dumb, but burning him alive was dumb. Because who knows whether you're going to have an opportunity to get, okay, maybe not all the wildlings, maybe some of them will take the deal. They are, as we said, as we've learned, 90 different, not just tribes, but species,
Yeah.
right? And some might say, yeah, okay, I'll take freedom in exchange for fighting in your army if the alternative is I'm going to get killed by the White Walkers. So...
Well, there's a side benefit, though, that we might be forgetting about. This whole time, they've been saying that we burn people. Burning people is great. You can burn people, but what you want to burn is kings. You want a sacrifice of kings, and they made the point right before they burned him, you were the king beyond the wall. So maybe Melisandre is getting something out of burning him specifically.
Let's jump ahead, because her speech before this was terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
No
It's
Tyrion
nutty.
speech.
She's nutty.
She's no Varys.
No, she's no Varys.
Yeah.
It was a bad speech. Boy, Tyrion Hines is a good actor, man.
Yeah.
I kept saying to my
Who's Tyrion Hines?
Mance Rayder.
Caesar.
Oh, okay.
I kept saying
Caesar from Rome.
I was saying to my wife that they're never going to kill him. They won't. They won't kill him. He's too good.
You can't say that about anyone on this show.
I know, but it's
how
like,
could you say that? How dare you?
But they just brought him. Like we
Never
hadn't
say
seen
that
much
about
of,
Peter Dinklage.
No, I'm totally.
Well, they don't kill people until they have principles. If you're driven by honor and all that, then you're going to die. And he wouldn't bend the knee. He wouldn't to death.
Oh,
But it's
good
a bad-
point by Iadarola.
But it's not honor. John's right. The honorable thing to do would have been to bend the knee.
No.
I don't think
Why?
so, because Mance
It's
says
principle.
he has to. Mance says if he bends his knee, then the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
The whole thing. All the wildlings turn on him. If he bends the knee, then the whole
Okay, well then let's
collection
get to
falls
this.
apart.
Then what's with the bending the goddamn knee? Like, how about I just say, here's what
No,
I've done.
honestly-
Your guy, your king, Mance, I'm hiring him. And you put your arm around him and you're like, we're going to go in this together.
No, because that's bending the knee. That says I'm going to work for
Co-opting.
Stannis. What Mance does in letting himself die a martyr is he keeps now there is honor for all these tribes of wildlings to say, all right, well, I guess we're working for Stannis now.
So there's.
Well, if that works, then true. I think we'll find out soon. But when Jon shoots him, and we don't know how Stannis is going to react to this, because again, it was Stannis was like, no, I'm going to burn him. I love to burn, and his crazy wife, like great shot of Stannis' wife.
yeah.
Loving it, and the daughter
the poor
looking away
daughter.
simultaneously. That was good stuff. But Jon screwed that up because Jon is his own man. So it'll be interesting to see how Stannis responds to it. But my thought, and I don't know. I mean, you've just shot me down here rather overwhelmingly. But
Won't be the last time.
but also the respect that the wildlings presumably will have for Jon now.
Yeah.
is pretty high. Like he just
Right.
he just did them a massive. They were about to like Mance came through. Mance was
Right.
ready to burn to death. He was about to scream.
About to scream.
Which
Great
he knew
improv.
he would.
Great
Right.
improv. Mance takes a position. John totally yes ands him.
Right.
It's always like, oh, I see what you're doing. I'm right there with you. I'm going to support you.
Yeah, that's right. It was good stuff, and like that great little look that Mance has in the second before he died, like because we realized in their conversation they like each other. They
Yeah.
super respect each other, and he was
Right.
like,
Yeah,
it's a great solid. It's the ultimate solid.
And
It was like
Sharon Hines really sells that Mance is afraid of dying.
Totally.
in the
That's why
fight.
it's such
Like,
great.
he's-
He had a lot of
that's
moments where he
bad
said,
way
"How
to
they going to
die."
do it? They're going
Right,
to
right.
beheading, hanging," and he's like, "Burning."
Right. There's that little eye twitch. He's like,
And he's like, "Oh,
oh, that's a rough way.
bad
to go.
way to go."
Yeah, but so the last look at Jon Snow was a Sipowicz kind of moment.
So it was a great Sipowicz
like,
moment.
thanks for doing me a solid.
Totally. It was
Yeah, okay, from
But like NYPD Blue did the solids of all solids in TV shows. They've just been eclipsed. That was
That's right.
Jon Snow was the
All right.
solid of all solids.
Speaking of other movies and TV shows, look, almost all of that in these kind of shows leads to a man's got to have a code, right? And so Mance Rayder's code was freedom, right? We don't bend a knee. We're our own men, and that's his code. And for him, honor is never betraying that code. So that's why he had to die. He couldn't bend a knee. to Ben's point about the bended knee, I totally agree with him. I feel like it's the old cowboy and Indian movies. I'm like, why are we rooting for Westeros? I don't like. Why are we rooting for the cowboys? The cowboys seem like the assholes, right? Why are they killing the poor Indians? I don't know why the Indians are the bad guys. As a kid, I never understood it, right? So as I'm looking at this, I'm like, in Westeros, you have to bend a knee, which seems very, I don't know, it bothers me in my core. I don't know if it's an American thing,
We
Turkish
pledge
thing,
allegiance to the flag.
Well, but a flag is an idea. It's not a person, right?
Yeah.
And in Westeros, he has to get him to bend the knee. He can't do Ben's idea, put your arm around him and be like, all right, buddy, I'll hire you for this job. Because the whole ideology is the king is everything. And if you don't bend a knee, then we have anarchy.
Yeah.
The order demands that you bend a knee, right? And so I don't like that. I like the free cities in the South. I like the wildlings. So I don't know why we're rooting for Westeros, and why is Westeros the good guys in the middle of the play, as it were, you know?
We should like Dorne, the only country that did not bend the knee.
Right,
I mean,
we
they are ruled by them, but in their words, they say unbowed.
Yeah, I mean, right, you're right. I mean, and that great line of that, the last line that we hear Mance say to Jon, you know, he says, "I think you're making a terrible mistake, and the freedom to make my own mistakes is all I ever wanted." Like that's like,
Right.
yeah, that's
But-
right. That's what we want, right?
But we also have
Yeah.
to keep in mind the reasoning behind uniting all the tribes, right? All the wildlings got united because something's coming.
That's right, yeah.
Winter's coming, and they can't, you know, it's an interesting look at, that freedom that they have is valuable and important and honorable, but boy, when the chips are down, is that going to save you from the White Walkers? I don't know, right?
Yeah,
and he's, you know, this is all part, arguably, of Mance's plan. All along, they're coming south to cross the wall because they need to get on the other side of that wall.
Well,
so they got to go. I mean, they got to join. They got to do something to get on that side of
but
the
the
wall.
mission is half accomplished. So half the mission was to win, but the other half was just get the south of the wall.
Right,
And they
but
were
I
already
think
south
that-
of the wall. They haven't won, but they're south
Well,
of
they're
the
still,
wall.
but they're not all
Man-
south of the wall. There's still, as John said, there's still, you know, thousands of women and children out there that aren't.
But they
That's right,
united
because I was
behind.
wondering, that was the second question I was going, where the fuck are the giants?
Right, but see,
yeah.
they
Right.
united behind Mance, and I think with Mance, it's more about he knows what's coming, and he knows the only way to save his people is to get them together. And I think that arguably half of those wildlings are just, we're together with Mance, we're going to take over the wall, we're going to press south and raid, right? And I don't think that
They just signed up for
they
pillaging.
just signed up,
Yeah.
just to fuck around.
Yeah. So let's get to Daenerys. We see her. We see Eric Bana talk super tough to her and say, like, you know, you're a dragon queen with no dragons. Like, what up? And then she goes to see her boys.
Don't meet.
And it goes poorly. And she is terrified. Like, legitimate, she runs out. You know, they're not, you know, significantly, they don't go after her.
They
You
could
know,
have just burned her.
But they
and
could have
didn't.
burned her right
Yeah,
then. They
they're-
didn't. So
they're-
Wait a minute, I have a question though. Could they actually burn her?
That's a good
Oh.
question.
Oh, you mean because she
interesting.
wouldn't? But would they know that? Like,
She knows that.
right,
I don't think she's worried about fire.
right.
Ah, it's
but still,
interesting. I
she
never
was.
thought about
But she was
that.
afraid.
At the end of season 2, the dragons do shoot their fire right past her, and she wasn't burnt then.
Yeah, there's strong evidence that she doesn't burn. That's true. That's
but
true.
really, really fast, I think they deserve a ton of credit. So when they were on the wall, the CGI, the green screen, we were commenting at the time, this did not look that good. But the dragon CGI, it's just perfect.
Right,
I
that's
thought
what
it was
CGI
amazing.
They look like real
Oh
dragons.
yeah, it was amazing.
They look just like
Depth is, depth that's tough. I mean, it was the wall in that shot. That sometimes that doesn't look as good. It was, I don't know. It was okay. I didn't.
It was okay. The
didn't-
dragons were just perfect. This is a
dragons
TV
were
show.
perfect.
That's impressive.
For me, the dragons gave me like nightmares because sometimes at work I forget to do something for a long time, and then when I realize it, I go, "Oh no, I should have been doing that all along. I made a terrible mistake." Right? That's how I felt Daenerys felt with the dragons. Like, oh, I should have remembered to come back and pet them every once in a while. I've made a terrible
they're mad.
mistake. Now I can't control them
Can't just leave them
anymore.
in the crate all weekend.
Right, but of course she put him in there because she already couldn't control him. So really, nothing has changed.
Well, to be fair, she couldn't control the one that's gone. Those two hadn't yet done anything. It was sort of a
she
preemptive
could've-
thing.
Oh, is that right?
I would have done the mid-level petting every day, even though I've got him chained up, because those two were still listening to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I didn't remember that, but I liked that she was legitimately terrified. I thought that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So, but again, and then we have we have the third dragon, whose name seems to be Dragon. Which I think is a weak.
Drogon.
Drogon.
Too close.
I'm with Ben. I would have gone in a different
Yeah.
direction.
I mean, you're literally making up names. You can do whatever.
Yeah, but it's in honor of Drogo. Drogon. One of the dragons is named after her child who died.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're all in honor.
No, still with Ben.
still, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not buying it.
Listen, there's worse names out there.
Too close. Too close.
Spiny.
Where's Littlefinger going? Do we know? Do you guys know? Is there something that I've missed, or we're supposed to not know?
I think that's where we're a little bit off the reservation, right?
Yeah.
Because
there's a few areas where there's just nothing like the books.
right.
I won't mention because even saying that something is different from the books can lead you to assume some things. But no, this more than any other season, sort of what we predicted in that video that we put up before the shows. Yeah, they're going off, and it's exciting because like as we were watching it, like I was predicting things, and I honestly didn't know.
All right, well, that's...
Yeah, and I wasn't. You might think that I was spoiling things, but I wasn't because we honestly don't know at this
And
point.
Robin, so we got Robin with that horrible, great line of he swings the sword like a girl with palsy.
Yeah, if an MSNBC host said that today, they'd have to then apologize.
Yeah, no, that's very politically incorrect. I was greatly offended by that. Not any of the burning of lives, the decapitations, or anything like that, but.
And then the other great line of when Varys convinces Tyrion to go try to get to Meereen. He's like, I'm going to drink myself. There are quicker ways to kill yourself, and he goes, not for a coward, which is nice. And he talks about how he drinks myself to death, and then he says, can I drink myself to death on the road to Meereen? Like, is that
That was a wonderful compliment.
It was a wonderful. It was a
They
wonderful
shook
trip
yeah,
for them,
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
right. Yeah. So and then we end though with obviously with sort of. I'm convinced that Jon Snow is going to have great power over the Wildlings.
So my conclusion on the first episode, to come all the way back to your first question, is to agree with you, Ben. As Game of Thrones is coming, it starts to run through my head.
Peter Dinklage.
Right. And it's nearly impossible to live up to it. And the first episode, I was happy, good, great. I liked the Varys speech, but in the end, I needed a little bit more bad guys to root against, and I'm not quite there yet. It didn't quite live up to my expectations.
Well, don't worry. The first 3 episodes of every season have been setting up the rest of the season. There will be a new villain, I'm sure.
And they can't overdo it. Like when your expectations that high, as soon as you almost exceed the you run the risk of leaving the reservation. It's hard.
jumping the dragon.
It's so hard to be consistently great. It's so hard to be. And so I will give them credit for, okay, they set the bar at 98 and they just delivered a 94. Like we should be like, great, okay, good.
91. I'm going to give him my
91.
91. Yeah.
91. Can I hear? I'll take 92.
Sometimes you just got to do the layup.
You just got to take the layup. You don't need to do the reverse dunk. But very pleased, very intrigued. The Game of Thrones is back.